Alrighty, hello and welcome to this boss guide for the Emperor of Corpses. The Emperor of Corpses is a level 100 boss, which makes him the highest level boss in the game currently, which as you would expect also means he's quite challenging. Emperor of Corpses can be found in the Reign of Dragons timeline. He has two damage types, necrotic and physical. Modifiers to avoid are Enrage and half health, Frenzy and haste on hit, and armor and protections as a percentage of health. Now, as far as the mechanics of this fight go, it is a one-phase fight, but there is a lot going on. The first thing the player should be aware of is the shout mechanic, which applies 1 to 3 stacks of slow onto the player and also raises a group of zombies that do physical damage. The zombies have low damage and low health, but should be dealt with to avoid becoming overwhelmed. The next mechanic we'll talk about is a necrotic AoE. The Emperor rises onto its hind legs and begins spewing a necrotic beam at the ground. Simultaneously, a large circle is placed around the Emperor. The player has a short amount of time to leave the circle before the Emperor finishes its channel, causing a high damage explosion in the circle. Almost immediately after the explosion, a ring will form outside of where the explosion occurred that does moderate to high dot damage. This forces the player back in the circle, or else the dot damage will eventually kill them. In general, this mechanic is meant to cause the player to move out of the explosion and then back in. If either one of those are not done, most players will die either to the explosion or to the dot. So this is definitely a mechanic you can not just ignore under most circumstances, although there are some builds that can tank the explosion. The next mechanic we'll talk about is a necrotic shake. The Emperor shakes kind of like a dog shaking off water and releases a large number of projectiles that hit in small circles on the ground. These circles do moderate to high damage and can overlap each other, so moving out of them is important. After the projectiles land, they summon necrotic zombies that will attack the player. These are different than the zombies from the shout, which were physical zombies. These adds are similar though, in that they do low damage and have low health, but can overwhelm the player if allowed to remain in the fight. Next mechanic is an AoE swipe. It's a moderate damage melee phys attack that occurs in a conal area in front of the Emperor. The Emperor raises one arm and quickly swipes at the player. The attack will occur 1 to 3 times if the player remains in melee range. The next attack is arguably the Emperor of Corpses' most dangerous. It is a necrotic breath attack. The Emperor targets the player's current location, lifts its head, and fires a long-range, high-damage conal attack at the target's location. This will kill most builds, so it must be avoided. Once the Emperor lifts its head, the players can move to either side of their current location to avoid the attack. The final mechanic we'll talk about are blood pools. These ones can be difficult for players to even realize are occurring, so definitely pay attention to this section. During the fight, pools of blood will slowly spill in from all sides, getting closer to the center as they progress. These pools do moderate to high fizz damage over time, so standing in them will kill most builds after a short period. However, the bottom of the map has a safe zone where no pools are created, and this is a good place to go when the Emperor does its necrotic AoE circle attack. Note that if using this area, you must keep the Emperor from moving down the map during the fight, or else you risk eventually not having enough space to avoid the necrotic AoE explosion. This can best be accomplished by quickly moving back into the circle after the attack and staying in the top half of the map when the AoE is not occurring, therefore preventing the dragon from following the player downward. Alright, that'll do it for this build guide. Those are all of the mechanics of the Emperor of Corpses. Hopefully this guide will help you down the Emperor in a reasonable number of tries. Thank you so much for watching. As always, 5 to 6 days a week, I stream on Twitch. If you'd like to check out more LE gameplay, come in chat, ask some questions, feel free. Also, I have a Discord where we discuss all things LE and ARPG related, and also other RPGs. Feel free to join that too and join in the discussion. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great time in Last Epoch.